First, though, NATO's Secretary General toured Canada this week. Today, he stopped by the Canadian Air Force Base in Cold Lake, Alberta. This a day after visiting the Arctic. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg emphasized the Arctic's importance as NATO's northern and western flanks. But a long, unsettled territorial dispute among allies persists.
The Northwest Passage is Canadian waters, period.
Not everybody agrees with you, sir.
We have a long-standing disagreement with the United States on that one, but they have understood our position, and our allies, respect Canada's position.
Anita Anand is Minister of National Defence. We reached her in Cold Lake, Alberta. Minister, a lot was made during this visit about the Arctic's importance as NATO's northern and western flank. I want to know, is Canada willing to host a NATO-branded exercise in the Canadian Arctic?
Our policy on NATO has not changed. We believe that Arctic countries should be in charge of making policy relating to the Arctic. Having said that, we do have NATO countries participating in our exercises in the north, for example, in Operation Nanook, and we have hosted NATO allies here before. So we'll continue to do whatever it takes to secure and maintain Arctic sovereignty, and the Secretary General's visit to the north with us to Cambridge Bay yesterday is just one example of how we'll continue to work with our allies, and in particular the United States, on NORAD modernization.
I'm gonna jump in here, Minister, just because I want to sort of disentangle what you're saying, or have you help me disentangle what you're saying for the folks at home. Canadian Operation Nanook taking place, you demonstrated that for the Secretary General, but of course that's a Canadian operation. What I think I heard you saying there was basically Canadian operations, yes, but you didn't sound like you were throwing open the doors to a NATO-branded exercise. Why? Why is that? Is that concerns about... No? Okay.
We will continue to ensure the sovereignty of the Arctic with the United States under the NORAD umbrella. That's why we committed recently to approximately $38.6 billion over a 20-year period, the largest investment in NORAD and continental defense in the past 4 decades. So the reality is that we will continue to protect the Arctic. We take it very seriously, and we will work with our multilateral alliances, NORAD and NATO, to do whatever it takes.
But just so I understand, given all the conversation today about climate change, increasing access to the Arctic, the geopolitical importance of the Arctic, it seems to me it would send quite a message to have a NATO-branded exercise in the Arctic. But you risk provoking Putin. There are questions about what that means for Canadian territorial claims, territorial sovereignty in the Arctic. So is it something that you are looking at right now? Yes or no?
We are not. Arctic states retain primacy in decision-making relating to Arctic sovereignty. That puts our NORAD alliance front and center, as it has been for numerous decades, in terms of protecting the Arctic. Having said that, we will always be cognizant of a changing geopolitical environment, and that is exactly what we discussed with Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg in Cambridge Bay yesterday.
Well, and that does lead me to something else I want to talk to you about. When he was speaking today, he highlighted the threat, certainly, yes, that Russia poses, but that China poses as well in the Arctic. And I'd be curious to know what your view, what Canada's view is. Is China viewed as an adversary, a threat in Canada's high north?
We are eyes wide open on China, whether it is in the high north or whether it's in the Asia Pacific. We have to remember that, as I said, there is a changing geopolitical environment, which involves Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, which involves exercises by China in the Asia Pacific. And we will continue to be eyes wide open in China around the world, as we must be, to protect our country and to maintain our multilateral commitments.
Does eyes wide open mean going as far as saying, yes, they are a threat?
Eyes wide open means ensuring that any country is respecting the boundaries of Canada, including the Northwest Passage, which is Canadian. And we will continue to do whatever it takes to assert and ensure Canadian sovereignty in the Arctic and throughout the continent.
And yet so many NATO allies do not agree with Canada's claim to the Northwest Passage. And I just wonder, given the very pointed comments, that you just made, that we heard from the Prime Minister earlier today, does Canada have any additional plans? Is there anything else that you can or are considering doing right now to further substantiate or make clear that claim?
Well, let's just take a look at what we are doing militarily. We have the exercises which run all year round under 4 different serials under Operation Nanook in the north. Those are very intense exercises which involve our allies. We have the Arctic offshore patrol ships, 6 of them being procured, 3 of them in the water, 1 of which has circumnavigated the North American continent. We are also making sure that we are investing in future fighters, the F-35s, 88 of them in particular, and we anticipate that a contract will be finalized prior to the end of the year. And the reality is, Catherine, that whether we're talking about procurements, whether we're talking about exercises in the north, we will continue to assert our Arctic sovereignty as we must do as a sovereign nation ourselves.
Does it become more of a worry, though, given everything you were talking about today? Given Russia's activity, given climate change increasing access, it starts to get complicated if, for instance, we need help up there, I imagine.
Well, there's no doubt that it is complicated, but that doesn't mean that we aren't fully cognizant of the changing threat levels around the world and the aggressive conduct of certain countries around the world. And that is the business of the government of Canada, to make sure that Canada is always prepared, is always ready, and in defense. That will mean that we'll continue to participate in exercises. We will continue to contribute to our multilateral alliances, and we will continue to stand up to illegal conduct, such as the unprovoked Russian invasion of Ukraine, to which we have provided $626 million of military aid thus far.
I want to get your analysis, your read of something that's been in the news this week. Russian President Putin signing a decree to add 137,000 service members to the Russian military. What does that tell you about Putin's intentions?
Well, clearly there is a change of tack on that side, and there is a need to shore up additional resources. For example, the military takeover of Kyiv was unsuccessful. Similarly, in Odessa, unsuccessful. And we've got to remember that Ukraine is representing a resilient and valiant defense of its territorial integrity. And as allied countries, we will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine in the short and the long term. Jens Stoltenberg himself referred to Canada as a long-term leader in standing up for Ukraine. And we take this role very, very seriously.
In closing, I do want to ask you about one specific piece of assistance that we're offering to Ukraine. Your office has confirmed to CBC News today that none of the armored vehicles promised by Canada have actually arrived in Ukraine. What is the holdup?
Just to be clear, these armored vehicles are 39 brand new armored vehicles right off the production line. And what we are doing is make sure those armored vehicles are outfitted with armor that the Ukrainian Defense Ministry has specifically asked us for. Having said that, those vehicles are coming off the line. They will be shipped very shortly. And in the meantime, I might add, Canada is continuing to contribute by providing training to Ukrainian new recruits. That training in the United Kingdom started yesterday, in fact, and we will be sending up to 225 Canadian Armed Forces to the UK to train new recruits. That's in addition to the 33,000 Ukrainian soldiers we trained since 2015. So Minister, our commitment to Ukraine is multifaceted. It involves procurements and training and military aid.
Minister, on this program on July 7th, you said of the 39 vehicles, they are basically ready to go. We are finishing the negotiations. Shipments should start this month. That was July 7th. We are almost at the end of August. So I will ask again, what's the holdup?
Well, Catherine, when you're moving heavy machinery, heavy equipment like armored vehicles, you have to make sure that there's operational security of these vehicles and that they will reach their destination safely and securely. And that is at the stage we are at now. Those vehicles will be departing Canada shortly. And as I said, it is a complex endeavor, but Ukraine is ready for them and they will be shipped shortly.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.